All right, so it is that time.
Let's do it.
It is Thursday.
Let's go.
So that means one thing. It is
What's
time.
that?
It is time for going to the West Coast and finding out which cup of coffee that this man is on.
The West Side Connection.
Niko Moreno. It is Nick. It is John. It is Niko on a Thursday. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning. Apologize for the delay. I was working the phones. I love how things just blow up right before I get on.
Are you at liberty to share, sir?
Well, yeah, a couple. Some of them I've already been, out there. I've been hoping to just break something myself here, but the Miguel Borja thing is something that was sounding as an Austin possibility since yesterday, actually, and this morning it kind of came to fruition. It sounds like there is an official offer from Austin FC to River for Miguel Borja, striker, 30 years old, double-digit guy, just about every year, strong, has had some ups and downs. But what my source tells me is that, yes, there is an offer. Herman, I forget his last name. I apologize. He's the one who said the initial reports.
Oh, Herman Garcia Grova.
Yes, $3.5 million for 80% of the players' sell-off rights. But what I was told from my sources that his circle and Miguel Borja himself sees MLS in good eyes, in good light. That it would be a good move for him. He's actually thought about it in the past when he was in Palmeiras. So definitely something that's kind of for us to take a look at. I don't know if I would pay more than $4 million because it sounds like River's not happy with the initial offer. So that might be a deal breaker for a 30-year-old that, like I said, I mean, he's not outstanding every year. So that's one to look at. And then one that just kind of came across right now that I was going at it before I got on. I was like, man, I got to get on John's show. But someone just put out that Fluminense has an offer to Seattle for Leo Chu for $5 million. Now that price tag seems a bit high, hard for me to believe, but I was trying to, see if they had any legs, that rumor. But again, I don't really see it. Fluminense paying $5 million for Leo Chu seems extremely high, seems a bit odd. But there has been at least reports of interest for Leo Chu. Bahia and other teams have at least apparently done some inquiries, as they call it. But yeah, the $5 million bid, I'm not sure if I buy it. If this is true and there is a $5 million bid, I mean, Seattle's got to take it. I mean, that's a great deal for a player of his caliber. Their initial investment would be profitable for at least $1.5 million or something like that. So it's one to have an eye on. Not sure if I buy it. But yeah, that's kind of what I was doing prior to getting on your show, John.
Nothing wrong with that, brother. Nick Alifi, first question for Niko on a Thursday.
All right, so with this, the start of training camps and whatnot right around the corner, what are some things that, from the West Coast perspective, that have already caught your attention as far as it can be player movement, it can be teams trending up, teams trending down? What are some things that really have your attention right as we are getting started with the new season?
Well, to not talk about what we already discussed with John in Colorado, I'd say Portland is interesting. Getting Kamal Miller, getting rid of Jimmy Chara to Junior. There definitely is a full change with the Neville era coming into fruition. That is a team that seemed to have some consistency, a core group. Not sure how that looks today. Miguel Araujo's still there. Diego Chara clearly is a team that is still in discussions with Sebastian Blanco. At one point, it seemed like there was no way he was coming back, that it was done and over with. The player was going to move on. But as of late, it sounds like there are talks, negotiations with Sebastian Blanco, and there is a possibility that he can come back. So there's a lot going on there. New coach, new players coming in. I think the philosophy is going to change. The model of play is going to be different. Um, I'm not sure how much Diego Chara has in the tank. I mean, I'm not going to put his professionalism and his physicality and conditioning in any sort of predicament here, because he's been outstanding his whole career. But Father Time is undefeated, and I'm wondering how much more he has there. So I don't really see a full replacement there for Diego Chara. I mean, not like for likes. So that one's interesting just because there's so much question marks for a team and a fan base that has high expectations every year. And it doesn't matter what's going on or what the deal is, they always have high expectations. So that's an interesting one. I feel like LA Galaxy getting Gabriel Peck is supposedly be finalized. That'll be a good move for them. They have a lot of holes to deal with,
brother.
So when I look at things, when it comes to the LA Galaxy, is Greg Vanney's last year to prove he can do something with this roster. Which of those guys that were injured last season are going to be able to come in and win their spot back? I expect at least one more big move from the LA Galaxy. Can Ricky Push be that guy that is going to kind of build from what he did last season with that team? And now he is the face. Now he is the everything for this squad. So that's another interesting one. And I think Seattle is coming into a big year, right? Craig and company are doing their best to, I think, get a lot of talent. But I also see them very happy with what they have, and that makes me not uncomfortable, but it makes me kind of think that perhaps they're not in such a rush to go and get, let's say, another huge designated player, whether it's in the summer window or not. Obviously, Pedro de la Vega, U22 player, is going to come in. But beyond that, I don't know if they're in a huge rush to do a lot of moves, right? So I think they want to play out what they have with this current group. The Pedro de la Vega situation makes me concerned within its own. The player he suffered a muscular injury that had him removed from the U23 Argentinian camp. That was his second muscular injury in the last month or so, is what I was told. He was already coming back from one. So it's concerning when you're paying $6 to $7 million for a U22 player that is supposed to come and kind of be your new star, and he has some injury problems. There are some concerns about how consistent he can be. I've been talking to a whole lot of Lanús media members, and some have a really high praising assessment of Pedro. Some others just think that he might not have that X factor to put a team on his shoulders, to be a star in a team. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out for a Sounders team that I think once more, I think that they got far and they thought they could get even farther last season. And they're hoping that guys like Albert Rusnak and Raul Ruiz and some of those guys that maybe were not as stellar as they usually are can pick that level of eliteness up. But that's another one that's interesting here in the West.
One team that you haven't talked about is LAFC. And we have, if you believe Insta or the IG or the Gram or whatever the kids are calling it these days, plus reports out of L'Equipe in France, Denny Bouanga wants OUT out. And there's also the wild-ish rumor, and I mean wild wild-ish, not wild-ish, meaning that it's kind of wild, but the wild-ish rumor about Karim Benzema not being happy about playing in the league that he's currently playing in that we don't name or endorse or talk about when it's on television, and that he wants out after winning the battle with Nuno Espirito Santo about style of play. So Denny Bouanga wants out now. He wants to get paid. He wants to go to Europe. And the weird, wild stuff about the next wild pick that Thorington possibly could bring in. Are you hearing anything about LAFC and Denny Bouanga? And even if you're not, what do you think about Bouanga wanting to jet?
Yeah, no, I don't have any insight on the story other than what I've been reading and doing my research on. And it has been surprising how vocal he's been to get out. Maybe he's trying to maximize his value after a fantastic season. Definitely the best year of his career in general senses, what he's been able to do in all competitions with LAFC. Does he really want a new challenge and a new place, or is he looking for that very big price tag? I think that's what it is. Just one more big check and kind of maximize your value. Don't know if there is a team that's going to go out there and pay as much as he's expecting to get paid. It might sound dismissive, but I think that there is a lot of teams in Europe that don't think highly of MLS, and maybe his productivity could be, not be as high praised as he thinks he might be. In my opinion, I think he should stay. He continue to build in LA. This is a growing league. There's so much going on internationally here. He's getting paid well. He could get paid more money with LAFC if he'd like. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on the matter. In terms of Karim Benzema, after the Lloris move, it's hard for me to just say, hell no, it's not going to happen. I mean, it seems like nothing is out of the reach of LAFC because of everything that they've been able to do, and having an ambassador like Cellini and everything that they've been able to do lately. It seems like Thorington just has guys on speed dial and can get whoever he wants. So can it happen? Sure. I don't think it's out of the question that maybe it happens. Regardless of how much Karim Benzema is making, we've seen and scratched our heads 1,000 times on how guys can just come in and pay for X amount here, and we don't know if they are, if they're maybe not. But I think the Karim Benzema move could happen. Would it be keeping up with the Jonesons, with Inter Miami and Luis Suarez coming in? Perhaps. I don't know if that is something that LAFC's in the mood for or in the module for, because it'd be funny that you bring Karim Benzema when you got rid of Chicho because Chicho wouldn't press enough, wouldn't move enough, wouldn't do this and the other because Cherundolo has a specific style of play. And now you're going to bring Karim Benzema that I don't know how much pressing he's going to do with LAFC. So does it really make sense for the module of play? Perhaps not, but would it be a big boom in the marketing, global marketing level? Yeah, without a doubt.
Nick, go for it.
Sorry, the computer's acting up there. All right, so let's staying in the greater LA area. Ricky Puig is somebody who, you mentioned a moment ago, but the question I have is, how long do you think he's going to be staying with the Galaxy? He's got talent to play elsewhere. I don't think he really wants to, but with so many issues on that Galaxy team, I could see another team in MLS reaching out to the Galaxy and being like, look, you need cash, you need assets to be able to, some contract freedom here. Why don't we help you out and just get this guy out of here? Do you think that's even a move that Ricky Puig would want to do, or do you think he's just comfortable being the guy on a bad team?
I think that he wouldn't have come if he didn't believe in at least the project, the vision by the LA Galaxy, regardless of how bad they are. I think being the guy across the street from the big bad wolf of LA Galaxy, of LAFC, is certainly a factor that can push you, inspire you to be better. I don't know if there's a team that would go out there and put a big load of money to try to get Ricky from LA Galaxy, because I feel like their price tag would be very high. I think they would upsell him without a doubt, and I would doubt LA Galaxy would do it. How much more would it take for them to go get the right guy, make sure that he does play? I mean, he has already been proven on the field. He's been proven in the locker room. He's been proven with Greg Vanney. So I wouldn't expect to move unless there's a wrecking ball and you get rid of Vanney and you need to just do a full rebuild, then maybe that would be the case. But as long as Rick Vanney's there and the project's still the same and the vision continues to be ongoing, I don't think that anybody would come in and give LA Galaxy enough for them to let him go.
Is there anyone out there that concerns you not because of what they've done in bringing folks in, but because they haven't done anything in the gap time since MLS season 23 ended? Is there anybody that concerns you because they haven't done anything yet so far, because they're standing pat with who they have? Is there anyone you're sitting there and scratching your head going, bruh, you really need to kind of get to moving here because camp opens up this weekend?
Yeah, I think San Jose. I mean, it looked like they've tried to make moves and just they haven't been able to do it. They were in the Nicolas Sodero sweepstakes. They did not get it. Today there was a report that they went for Alexis Vega and they were unable to make it happen. Traujo is gone. There's just a lot of departures. Montero's gone, and they haven't been able to bring anybody in. Lucho Gonzalez is one hell of a coach, but I don't know if he has enough pieces right now for me to feel comfortable with that team. Kate Cowell moving to Chivas, fantastic move, right? Something that is unprecedented to a certain extent because of the way that it was done. But Kate Cowell was a player that gave you something absolutely different, whether it was off the bench, whether it was as a starter. He had all this potential. Now you lost that, and you haven't been able to bring anything in. So I think San Jose would be a team that I'm concerned for their lack of urgency to, one, replace players, and two, just load up, because regardless of how decent they were last season, and there were times where they did look good, they seem to be needing more talent there, and they just haven't been able to do that.
Nick, go for it.
Yeah. So here's a question to the floor, and our guy Niall brings this up. Minnesota.
Oh,
Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I think Minnesota is another team that, unfortunately, I hate to say it like this, but it seems like management in general is just okay and complacent with being a mid-table team, if you will, or that as long as we are somewhat competitive, it's gonna be okay. But I agree, that's another team that it's been radio silence down there, and you would think that with everything that happened last season, and with now Reynoso at least being able to start off the year with your team, and you might want to maximize that. You'd go out there and get another 9, get maybe another winger, and make this team more goal dangerous. But that's just not the case. Fragapane was kind of put on the fridge for the majority of the season. Is that going to change now without Adrian Heath? Perhaps. So are they betting on that? I'm not sure. That's another team that you're absolutely right. It is concerning, but perhaps the level of certain players maybe give you a little bit of a higher floor. But at the end of the day, you're right. I think that this team is way too complacent, and maybe that's the reason why they have no urgency to get anything done.
Well, look, I have a solution for that.
Oh,
and I've pitched this before in back channel. What I think that the league needs to step in and reach out to the Wilfs and say, look, we will buy Orlando City from you, right? You take Minnesota United, where you already have a bulk of your businesses. You have the indoor stadium. You have everything, because playing outdoors in Minnesota in March, and let's be honest, March and April not attractive to anyone else in the world but people in Minnesota, right? Yeah. So let the Wilfs have the Minnesota United. Let them take it and put it in their big, beautiful stadium where the Vikings play. And then you could find a buyer, I'm pretty sure, for Orlando City that would make sense with someone who has businesses down in the footprint.
And you could broker it with Inter & Co.
I mean, yeah, because the team's already a laughing stock as it is because of stupid things like Inter & Co. But, I mean, it just, from the minute that this team, Minnesota, has come into the league, and they had the very unfair expectations of matching up with Atlanta United's ambition, openly coming out, signing people from South America at a clip, going big on free agents, being competitive, blowing Minnesota's doors off, in the magical snow game. Mm-hmm. And Minnesota's just like, well, we're just going to kind of do it what we do, okay? We're just going to do it at our own speed. And they never got out of third gear. Mm-hmm. Like they never shook off. Like they had one run in the U.S. Open Cup, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, it just...
I think Minnesota needs to look at the East Coast and the friends from FC Cincinnati and realize the difference that it can make when you make a big change at the top. And in 2 years, this team is completely different. Mm-hmm. Not only are they elite at the league level, but they are selling a guy like Brandon Vasquez to Monterrey. They are building and growing players. They are developing. They're getting a guy like Miles Robinson. I mean, they're now a team where players want to go, where teams are looking for talent at, and they're elite within the league. So this was a 2-3 year turnaround. Why can't Minnesota do that? Because I do like that fan base. I have a lot of following from Minnesota that, they're there every day, every game. They're still hoping that things change, that they're now without Adrian Heath, maybe that lack of entertaining soccer goes away. So I think that what they really do need to do is just make a big change at the top and start from the very beginning and really change the philosophy there and make this team win now and do it just like FC Cincinnati.
All right, so what's going on at the Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar coming up at the top of the next hour? I know that you're a very, very busy man on Thursdays. What do folks need to know?
Yeah, well, Pulso Sports, we are looking for a couple of very interesting guests, some that would be a big deal for me to get them, but have not been able to confirm those. So just stay tuned. Can't say no names at the time because if they don't happen, then I look like poop. So hopefully I'm trying to get them, but both relevant to MLS. Stay with me on Twitter. I'm looking for a couple of targets of Nashville, which that's another team that's been concerning that you have heard nothing about. But it sounds like they are targeting a couple of South American players that are interesting. So keep an eye on that. And at Soccer Bar, we won't be back till next Monday. We had a little preseason meeting this week. We got a lot of things in the works, but we won't be back till next Monday.
All right, at Orolo and NW. And we always look forward to Thursdays with Niko when he drops by. What cup of coffee are you on, sir?
Number 2 today, man. I needed that. I'm going to number 3 after this.
All right, so he's finishing up number 2, and he's in the brown paper bag mug version this morning. Niko, as always, my friend, great to have you on Thursdays, and we'll catch up with you again next week. We'll talk coaches. We'll talk camps open. We'll talk concerns, all that other kind of stuff. Be safe and well, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.